and a warm welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Melinda Akinlami. On the program today, the National Bureau of Statistics releases damning corruption index report. Erosion renders Nasarawa residents homeless. And the River State Governor supervises the destruction of structures on the road. We'll begin with legal matters. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has granted an order of interim forfeiture of 437 million naira linked to a serving permanent secretary of the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment, Mr. Clement Onubogu. Justice Abdulaziz Anka granted the order at the instance of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, which suspects that the money is proceeds of unlawful activity. The court granted the interim forfeiture of over 129 million naira found by the commission in possession of various staff who worked with the permanent secretary. Also mentioned in the forfeiture order is a building described as a mansion located at Ecom Quarters and a hotel in Delta State. The EFCC told the court that both buildings belong to the permanent secretary and are suspected to be proceeds of fraud. The court has adjourned the case till September the 6th. In what could be described as Nigeria's corruption index, the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, has released a damning report putting the estimated value of bribe paid to public officials by Nigerians in 1 year at 400 billion naira. In the report tagged the Nigerian Corruption Survey, which describes the impact of various acts of corruption on the life of the average citizen, the police is named as the most corrupt of all government institutions. Bribery in the judiciary is second highest, perpetrated mostly by prosecutors and judges. Other public institutions in which corruption is prevalent, according to that report, includes the Immigration Services, Driving Licensing Agency, Tax Revenue Agencies, and Customs. The survey, which covers 2012 to 2017, adds that Nigerians mainly pay bribes to either speed up a process or receive preferential treatment. The corruption survey by the NBS was conducted in conjunction with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, which is calling for a more drastic action to tackle the menace in Nigeria. The agency's country representative, Mrs. Christina Albertine, who spoke at the launch of the document in Abuja, appealed for a more coordinated approach between government agencies and development partners.
It's the launch of the joint report by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, the European Union and the National Bureau of Statistics x-rayed the level of corruption in Nigeria between 2012 to 2017. In attendance are government officials and members of international organizations. The report indicates that over 400 billion naira is paid in cash to public officials as bribes annually, which is equivalent to 39% of the budget allocation for education in 2016. The United Nations country representative expresses concern over the report's findings.
There is a need to also investigate and prosecute the corrupt offences, and in that context also to have mechanisms of international cooperation so that if offenders go to other countries and try to deposit the stolen money overseas, that there is cooperation between the countries to bring these offenders back and also to recover the stolen assets.
But how well has the government been tackling corruption?
This government has done very well, and our achievement is unprecedented. You can see the amount of recoveries from looters. Last week we got almost 437 million US from one of the looters.
International organizations provide insight on how to fight corruption.
We are going to continue working with the bodies that try to fight against corruption. We are going to continue supporting the Ministry of Justice to try to maintain respect for the rule of law and even improve the respect for the rule of law in this country. So this will be a program of 25 million euros, which will run for the next 4 years.
Experts from this meeting insist that more synergy between government agencies and international partners is crucial in ensuring that the detrimental effect of corruption is curbed so that Nigeria and its citizens can fully prosper.
Well, let's talk more on the MBS report. Joining us is Channel's business editor, Bosin Omofaye. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Melinda.
Bosin, let's look at this report. I know there's no country that doesn't have some form of corruption, but looking at the numbers, 400 billion naira in 1 year alone, is this mind-boggling?
Yes, it's a little bit mind-boggling. It's a little bit above $1 billion US and a little about 1% of Nigeria's GDP. But that's the actual money paid in bribes to government officials. But if you look at the knock-on effect of 400 billion naira, if you look at the time wasted, if you look at the time it takes you to pay the bribe or complete the process of giving bribe. For example, if the police stops you on the way, or perhaps more important, if you're shipping goods out of Nigeria or you're importing and you are delayed for an hour, for 2 days, perhaps for a week, to provide some form of bribes to customs officials, well, perhaps you're paying a bribe of 10,000 naira, but it has cost you a week to come up with 10,000 naira or 100,000 or perhaps a million naira, whatever the case may be. But if you look at the knock-on effect of these goods not getting to the market, the knock-on effect on your profit, your revenue, and perhaps you've taken a bank loan to do the import or the export. Now, if you look at the knock-on effect on the economy and social welfare, on wealth creation and disposable income of Nigerians, what comes to you and jobs creation is far more than 400 billion. We'll be talking about trillions and trillions of naira, hundreds of billions in US dollars. So it's as bad and it's as pervasive as that. So don't let us just look at 400 billion as the amount for a year. If you look at the entire gamut, what we're losing as a country is far more. Lives are also being lost because of bribes. Because vehicles that are supposed to be expected or not cleared for as being roadworthy are on the roads, and because of bribery and corruption, this explodes on the way. There are accidents, lives are lost. So what we're losing as a country is far more than what this report is just scratching the surface.
But those are supposed to help us, you know, make sure that these monies don't go anywhere, like the judiciary, the courts, for instance, which just asked a permanent secretary like Mr. Onwogu to forfeit all these buildings and monies he acquired over time. Who's supposed to help to put everything in order? If so, people like the police is the highest, followed by the judiciary before the customs. But I'm looking at the police and the judiciary now.
I think there's a bit of what is changing since 1999 under the civilian democracy dispensation. We've seen a little bit of more what you call civil the society, civil activists, society organizations who are ramping up on government should declare their budget. MDAs should also disclose their budgets. State governments should disclose their budget. They should disclose their expenditure. There should be more transparency and accountability in government reporting. There should be more corporate governance issues in public service institutions. All these are going to take some time, but as the public sector and the private sector, the civil society groups and the media continue to put pressure on government and government officials and government agencies and those who do business with the government, you find out that this will begin to come into the surface. The most important thing is that we have a report that is comprehensive, that is holistic about how we are in Nigeria, where we are as far as bribery is corruption. Even the media has its title sector in this particular report. So it's everybody down the line. But as we all begin to ramp up and say in our own little space to ask for disclosure, ask for transparency, ask for accountability at various levels, there will be further opportunities for us to engage the government officials and begin to rein in what we call corrupt practices. Now, every government agency that you've just talked about, the judiciary, the prosecution, the law, whatever, everybody now knows that, look, my sector, my name is out there in the open. So what do we do about it? Perhaps the IG is talking to his men, perhaps the Comptroller General is talking to the customs officers as now and say, look, we are number 2 or we're number 3. The National Judiciary Council, they're sitting together and say, look, our names are also there as prominent among those who are most corrupt in Nigeria. What are we going to do about this image? And they should also come to the National Economic Council, the presidency, the executive branch of the government, and the National Assembly to say, look, we need to do something about it. This is really bad. This is full disclosure. We've opened our books. We've reported on where we are, but how do we resolve this and cut it back and begin to get better?
Bosin Omofaye, our business editor, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And still to come on the news across Nigeria, the federal government is set to deal with anyone who promotes hate speeches, likens it to terrorism. More details in a moment.